Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
You have Graves block a shot. You have Fost with a quality operator. So 4, even because Jarvis, that spontaneous decision from Bruntz to pass the puck.
And then the Canes on the draw, win it, and she scores!
Michael breaks left wall. Hassled on the near side. Rink wide right. White Cloud's pass attempt blocked by Nugent Hopkins. White Cloud again. Out high. A wrist shot. Score! Tipped in front. Barleyshire, second of the day. Knights back in the lead. 4-3 Golden Knights. 2.5 minutes into the third.
Dive to the floor, so they have numbers again. Celtics do. Jalen Brown for Brogdon. Going to try the 3 for the right side. Got it. And the route is on.
Woo-hoo. Sandwich time, please.
A 13-0 Boston run. They lead by 26.
Kyle had to leave prematurely. Ronald Acuna drives one to deep center field. Deepest part of the yard. Way out of the ballpark. My goodness. Hit the batter's eye. That is some King Kong stuff from Ronald Acuna. And a 3-run home run. 461 feet.
The infield is in. The outfield is surprisingly deep. Muncy with a fly ball to right. This is going to be a walk-off. Grand slam! Over the small wall and right. A big celebration awaits. Muncy rounding third. His team is now going to pound on the bits.
Hey, good morning. It's Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Wherever you catch us, ESPN 590. We're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube, and we're happy to have you here on a Thursday. The sun is shining. The sprinklers are on outside. DB's in the chair next to me. It's all good. It's all good things today.
Yeah, I hope so.
The only thing that isn't good is I think today's going to be a kind of like the Cardinals day.
Yeah, nice bullpen.
Yeah, I'm gonna tease that because I think a lot of things today that I want to talk about are going to compare to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Awesome. Always love the old.
In forms of frustration, in forms of historic success, in forms of a lot of things. Let's just say today feels like yeah, kind of like the Cardinals. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of the Cardinals.
Oh man, I'm looking for.
If it feels
we got to turn this around. Man, this has been some 3 weeks, huh? Right? It just
my head hurts. My head hurts.
The ATM card thing yesterday was to boom.
Oh man! So where'd you find it?
So hopefully it's in the safe at Casey's. The manager had to come back and check to see because the person there couldn't open it. He needed the manager. And so I called a couple times, but the manager wasn't back yet. So we took a bunch of guys, getting all the funeral arrangements for my head coach, and then we took some players to the hospital to see Boone Tiedemann, who was well on his way to being a really, really good high school player. Like, he was the type of kid that a couple of folks that follow high school went out to Gothenburg to go watch run middle school track. He's playing varsity sports as a freshman and just hadn't been feeling well. And brought him up to Omaha a couple weeks ago and was diagnosed with leukemia. So there was that, and then I'm already busy. And then Caleb, I'm taking Micah to practice. He doesn't have practice until 7:30 to 9.
Yeah.
Caleb is on his way back from his basketball practice. And he calls and he says, "Dad, I can hear my tire hissing." I'm down to like 20, whatever he said, 20
PSI,
20 some PSIs, and he has no idea, right? I said, "Where are you?" And he said, "I'm on 156 in Dodge." I said, "Try to get to the nearest gas station. It's not a ton I can do. I'm on my way to Monroe Middle School, which is on 50th and Maple." So he called a couple of minutes later, and he said, "Hey, there's a Jensen tire." I said, "Hey, as long as you're not on metal, go slow and see if you can go from the gas station to
Jensen."
Yeah. So wrote a note on the drop box, left them a key. So who knows what they'll call and tell me this morning, right?
Oh, no.
And so it's like
it's one of those days.
It's
one of those weeks.
It's just a stretch, man. And
Jensen Tire and Auto is actually where I went whenever my tire blew.
So they have to. They're in Kansas City this weekend. He plays at 9 on Friday night. I think 9:15 at Hy-Vee Arena. And I obviously have to take him and another player whose parents have, they have another daughter, so they have to go to graduation. So they'll roll down with us, but the funeral isn't until 10:30 on Saturday.
Huh.
So I am going to...
So you're going to drive to Kansas City?
Correct.
And then the morning of you're driving back?
Correct.
So what, you got to wake up at...
I figure 6.
I was going to say 6:30.
I'll have my clothes ready, run home, change. Funeral's at 10:30, and then be back to Kansas City at some point Saturday afternoon. Yeah.
Those moments, I got to tell you, those moments.
I'm cheering like crazy.
Yeah, I'm cheering for you because those moments suck because when I got the call, I was in Sioux City. I got the call that I lost my aunt. She had a heart problem randomly. It was completely it was a freak.
Careful, because I'm not trying to go there like yesterday.
But when I got the call, those long drives, because I was doing, I had to drive home.
Yeah.
And those long drives by myself are tough.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Dude.
So if you need to talk during those drives, hit me up.
Man. So anyway, yeah. I am glad to be talking about hopefully sports. And Leon Draisaitl.
And that we will do.
Leon
you're insane.
And a loss.
You're insane. Tuesday, for those that weren't paying attention. Was it Tuesday? I think it was a sports six-pack question.
Going up on a Tuesday.
Shane had asked, who in the second round is your pick to lead the second round in goals? DB said Leon Draisaitl. I said Jason Robertson. We come back yesterday, and I'm like, why couldn't I choose Pavelski, right? 4 goals in one game. Leave it to...
That's a good head start.
Yeah, leave it to Draisaitl to say, anything you can do, well, I guess I can do the same. I can't do it better, but I'll do it the same. And I'll just go on and score 4 goals. So you right now have a heavy lead on me.
Yeah.
Because if those playing at home, if you're checking the box score of game 1 of the Dallas game, Jason Robertson doesn't have a goal.
It's
you're unbelievable.
Kind of like the Philadelphia 76ers scoring drought. Sometimes things just get away from you. It's okay.
Boston should be up in this series 2-0. They're kicking themselves right now.
Oh, I know.
It's 1-1.
I know. So, and at what point, if you're Philadelphia, were you regretting running Embiid out there? MVP Embiid.
He didn't look like things were too terrible for him.
And he has that gait anyway, where it's like something's always wrong with him. When he walks,
yes.
It's
yes, I do know.
But then I have to remember you're 7'12", and it probably hurts way up there to walk.
When you're walking on stilts every day.
Well, I mean, those big guys, man, we just take it for granted what they do.
Oh, yeah.
And those big, every time I see Teddy down in Lincoln, I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
Well, first off, you have neck pain.
I mean, legit 6'9" and some change. Some say 6'10". You're getting in a 3-point stance every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's why he's wearing braces.
he's just gifted. I mean, just whatever has to happen, like with your hips and your back, to get a good flat back. That's a long way down.
Sometimes I wonder how those guys are still walking today because you're going up and down. And, that's much more of a bruising sport than, say, Yachty, who played catcher for
I don't know
and
about
going
that.
up and down,
I
up
don't know
and down.
about that. I much rather play 6-7 years in the NFL probably than catch for 20.
Well,
because he's been catching for a while.
Right.
And those guys can't walk.
Yeah, but you're not hitting that heavy contact at that point.
Man, I don't know. That's a lot up and down.
It's a lot up and down.
You're digging in the dirt. I mean,
I'd rather be a catcher. It's a lot of games. It's a lot of games. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Give me the football. I think. Yeah, give me football. 7-8 years in the league playing O-line. I'm not saying Teddy's going to the league. He's very capable, but I'm not fast forwarding. Let's just take college. I certainly would take 4 or 5 years of college football over the pros. But even if I'd take 6-7 years of my body in the NFL over 20 years of catching.
I couldn't because so for me with no contact, just going up and down, it's like going to the gym and working out and doing squats. Like your body's meant to go like that without dealing with any contact down low. But if you're in that 3-point stance and you're taking in that contact.
Yeah, but the force, right? So it's not just sitting there, it's having mobility when you're at 30-degree angles, the knee flexion. The part that bends behind your knee is like at 30 degrees, if less.
Yeah, but you have so much power in football. So like when you're down, like these guys have to explode forward, right?
Yeah.
Yachty's never any catcher, right? We won't just use Yachty for example. We'll use Salvador Perez. We can talk other sports.
Didn't he hit a home run a couple nights ago? That was weird.
Yachty?
No, Salvi. Which, by the way, they got off the schneid. They won last night.
Yeah, 6-0.
So much for us talking about the Orioles offense. Because they got goose egg.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they did.
I mean, they were due.
Mm-hmm.
The Royals' home attendance, man.
Just as good as the Tigers. Just as good as the A's.
Dude, how about Scherzer yesterday?
Not great.
What did he give up, 6? So, do these people want to come in here? It's a nice little cute older couple. Do they want to see us?
They're just wandering. Maybe they'll come up to the window here and do like what every kid would do, like when they're peeking through somebody's house. Peeking through the glass.
Scherzer comes back off suspension and gets artillery shelled,
which I still don't know how to feel about that suspension.
Yeah, were you here?
I don't think I was, but I saw it, and I wish I could have talked about it.
No, you were here because I told you I didn't believe him. No, wait, maybe you weren't because I kept saying sweating rosin, sweating rosin, sweating rosin. Because that's what he kept saying.
Yeah.
I was just sweating rosin. I was like, I don't know if that's going to be sticky like the icky.
I just don't know why a guy with his this. Okay, so I ran into
all those guys do it.
I ran into this issue though when I was covering an Olympic runner in Sioux City. It was what's her name? Houlihan, Shelby Houlihan. Does that name ring a bell at all?
Lieutenant Houlihan?
Nope, not her.
Okay.
Or him. So Shelby Houlihan said that she
wasn't that Hot Lips. Wait, can you say? I'm sorry, it's 2023. Can you say that? Was Houlihan Hot Lips or was that somebody else? Somebody on social media. I don't know. Anyway,
so she had
from Police Academy.
I almost said MASH.
Oh,
maybe I'm confusing the two.
Yep. Hot Lips.
Not
Houlihan.
sure.
Yep.
So that's what it was, right, Houlihan?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, she had some food truck, right? She had some food from a food truck, and it had pork in it. And apparently, this so-called food item gave off some sort of well, I don't. Some reading that came up as also a drug,
like eating a poppy seed muffin.
Sure. I guess we'll compare it to that. And
that's what would happen if you ate enough. You'd have to eat a ton, but
right. But and so when she got tested for PEDs that same day, it came up positive, and so she got she couldn't run in the Olympics because of it.
Wait, so her levels were off?
Yeah, because she had this so-called drug in her system, and she's like, no,
couldn't have been from the food truck.
So my whole thing is this, but See, why would it happen just on that one day? Because she gets tested every day.
Yeah, would they lace it with Winstraw?
Right. I'll look up the exact thing just so I can, get it nailed down. But the story was, why would this happen on one day and then not happen any other day? Like, it doesn't make sense. The best runner in all of, distance running at whatever her time was, because she held the record. Why does she need to take drugs when she's still running at that pace? Like, no one's touching you. So that was my whole confusion
with Scherzer
too, because I'm like, well, no one's touching you. You're still one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in the game. Why does he need to go that route?
Maybe in his bullpen session he wasn't loving the seams or something.
And there's a ton of things, but he's like, I was not buying it. I was not buying the fact that
give me the sticky juice.
That he had sticky stuff on him.
So you think they just singled him out after all these years of being a pro?
They were checking his hands every single half inning.
Because I think when they were throwing balls back, it wasn't great.
But why would he keep testing his luck?
Maybe he wasn't feeling it.
If he did it, because he washed it off, like whatever, they thought was on his hands, he washed it off with what, alcohol?
Sweat and rosin.
Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Sweat and rosin.
And then he came back out. They're checking his hands again. He's not a guy that's going to risk that.
You'd be surprised.
Not him.
Came back to give up 6. By the way, Shane, here's your commercial. It is a Star Wars, and this is not Uncle Ruru's thing, but look at all those kids with the lightsaber. Shane, is that cool? Can you see that over there from your little doghouse?
I can't see it, but I'm sure it's probably pretty sweet.
Got a couple Mandalorian references. I'm totally speaking Portuguese to Andrew, but don't worry, because 5 years ago,
I've heard of Mandalorian.
Continue the legacy. What is Star Wars Continue the Legacy, Shane? Is it because it's May 4th?
It's probably because it's May 4th. I mean, they want to continue the legacy of Star Wars overall.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for this? Here's the Shelby
Celebrate Star Wars celebration.
Yeah, May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
So Shelby Houlihan received a 4-year ban, retroactive to January 14th of the same year from the sport due to testing positive for nandrolone. So nandrolone is an anabolic steroid which is used in the form of esters and such as nandrolone. Oh gosh, I shouldn't keep reading because these are all scientific terms I don't understand. But anyway, it's used to increase muscle mass. But she said the positive result might have come from her eating contaminated pork the night before the test.
So that's testosterone. That's why I said her levels had to be up.
And that's what it was. But it was just one day, because she gets tested every day. So why would she even run that risk?
I know
she knows.
Everybody on the streets are like, yeah, that's just DECA. No, I know. It's used in the treatment of anemia, muscle wasting syndrome, osteoporosis, breast cancer. They are not used by mouth and instead are given by injection into muscle or fat. Yeah, I don't know, Drew. Now.
One day? Just one day?
I don't know.
I mean, again, she is it was the 1,500 or 5,000 meter race is what she holds the record in. Just kidding. No. It is.
They're not using this near as much as they used to medically.
But a 4-year ban for that? 4 years? Couldn't believe it.
So, but listen, though.
Still don't believe it.
But, Drew Down, the penalty would be to miss the next Olympics.
Right. But the next Olympics was the one that she was planning for. So, she's missing the next 2 Olympics because of it.
Yeah. That's probably different than missing 2 starts. It's a lot.
Well, because those
guys train for every 4
That's
years,
what I'm
though.
saying. You're training every day for one thing that happens every 4 years. Banned her twice. She's going to be too old now to hold. Or
so you just had done that story, huh?
Yeah, that was in 2021.
Is that when you got your Emmy?
That was not the story that got my Emmy, but yes, it was 2021.
Was it a kid story? Or was it
a
particular story? Is this a body of work?
It was a sports anchor block. So it was like a night of sports. And I combined 5 of them because they wanted 5 different examples. And one was my Raji Award segment, where I just took the highlights of the week, whether it was local or national, and just made it a fun segment. And I would award it stupid things. I'd say best backflip in the rain. Like just the only thing that did a backflip in the rain that day was that. But I would just award.
So there was a good
like
chance that was going to win.
Yeah, like best photographer takeout, and I think it was a hit from Tyreek Hill, like catching a ball and then just ramming a photographer. So I would just award things like that, and I did that every Sunday for 2 years.
Congratulations on the success.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That's what brought me here with you.
Is it?
Yeah. Now I'm trying to match your success.
Oh, fudge.
I got to get there. I got to get there.
You better scratch this last month off your resume. You do not want to trade places.
Oh, no way.
I am going to go see my guy next week, so we're going to have some lunch. He picked a weird place, though. Wait, I forgot where he wanted to go now.
Your guy.
Yeah, my buddy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
AC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Tuesday. Going on
a Tuesday.
So, yeah, congratulations to all you folks out there that are still trick-or-treating in May. You knew listen, did you know this about Shane?
No.
With you. It is unhealthy.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Here he goes.
So I am shocked that you did not wear a costume.
You get 2 lightsabers? Oh, technically 1, but I can split them.
He has multiple costumes.
Me 2 lightsabers.
Shane, does the Commander Cody one still fit?
Dude, it's Star Wars. What isn't there like about it? This is, our thing. This is what we've grown up on.
Shane, do you go to Comic-Con?
The San Diego one, I've never been there, but I wish. I've gone to most of the Omaha cons.
Right. Yeah. So you've gone to.
Oh yeah.
What are those events like?
Really?
I'm just curious.
They're fun. They're exciting. They're intriguing.
This gives me no information.
They're very informal. They're very they're a grand time. There's a lot of
that's all I need to hear.
Do you have any specifics
about? Well, I mean, okay.
Like what's exciting? Because do they do scene reenactments? Do people look just like Mace Windu and Yoda?
They do scene, and yes, they do that kind of stuff, and people dress up. And
do you guys LARP there?
What is that?
Live action role play?
They probably do. I don't do that stuff, but
do you know who the real biggest Star Wars fan I know is? Marty Cordero.
Really?
Yes. Marty Cordero has figurines in his office.
Hey, those things are valuable. I'm sure he has a lot of value.
Oh, because it's Marty, you're vouching for him.
Sure.
If it was Shane, you're making fun of him.
Well, because I don't know if Shane has Marty items. I can only assume Marty's got some pretty competitive items that say Rick on Pawn Stars once.
That guy is angry.
Oh yeah,
he needs a hug. I'm not doing it, but let's give that.
I'll only give you 400. That's the best I can do.
You like that show?
Oh yeah,
it's kind of weird.
Those are some when we talk clips, TikTok, things like that. Those clips pop up on my timeline.
Clips pop up on mine.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
There he goes.
You're my only hope.
I'm telling you, he can go for days.
We'll be with you.
He can go for days. You know who could have used a little help last night? And it's weird because I know we're talking to Bruntz and Aaron Fitt today on the show after Brian Edwards, who's at 8:45, and Bruntz at 9, and I think Fitty at 30 or 40 at 9:30 or 43.
43.
So you think I would know the lineup? I just know the names. Times it's gotten away from me. We're talking to Bruntz after another midweek loss.
Are those common?
Dude, he said something a month ago, and it continues to be a thing. And we're going to talk about it. Because analytics people will fight me over this.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about it next because
I don't know,
this is kind of like a Cardinal day. Frustrating is Nebraska baseball right now.
The competitive at-bats. We're going to talk about that.
Let's do it. Let's do that next. We'll talk Nebraska baseball. We'll also set up the show. Stick around. More CNC coming your way.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes.
Let me see your identification.
You don't need to see his identity.
I don't know who you are or where you came from. From now on, you do as I do.
I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon. I'm Captain.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon.
What a piece of junk. It's a little short for a stormtrooper. I don't know who you are or where you came from. From now on, you do as I tell you. Okay?
Luke, the Force will be with you.
That's your guy. That's my guy?
That is your guy.
In what capacity?
You have a thing for Ewoks, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I fawn over them.
Shane, what was your best Star Wars costume? Is it Commander Cody?
Well, I have several.
Oh, that's what. Don't lead with those conversations when you're talking to girls.
Hey, you want to go to Comic-Con?
Can you do the Spock thing?
Wait a minute.
That has nothing to do with Star Wars.
I don't care.
Spock has nothing to do with
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
It feels like a Comic-Con thing.
You're gonna make him mad. Shane, is that where you met the love of your life?
Marcy?
Wow, well played. Is it, Shane? I bet it is, isn't it?
It's not where I met her. No.
Did you guys go together?
We've gone to Comic-Con a couple times.
Yeah.
She likes that stuff.
Okay. At least you got a bonding, something you can bond over, right? Some people go to games, some people go to the library, you go to Comic-Con.
And she's all about my
in regards to your green lightsaber at home, right? That's what you're referring to, right, Shane?
This dude is.
Does it light up?
This dude is lying. There's nothing about you or him that says anything about lightsaber prowess. Like, stop. Just cut it out. That or she can't see, one of the two.
Oh!
Anyway, I mean, how about this too? Like, nobody's believing that. Is anybody going for that?
He just sleeps with it.
Maybe it's the Jedi mind tricks he's talking about.
Maybe. He could write a book.
I am better than you think. Oh, Shane, you're so much better than I think. See how that works?
He just reads people's minds and he can send thoughts.
Yes. The force is with you. Oh, you see right here? He's like, what?
It's like, Shane, where'd your voice go? Deeper. Got to go deeper.
Oh, shoot. Do what must be done. That's probably what she says. All right. I'm coming to grow up. But you said it. Do what must be done.
I did not say it.
What did I say? I don't even know what you guys are even talking about over there.
Okay.
Sure.
They just hit another 3, by the way.
Hey, yeah, they didn't miss last night. Especially Derek White. Every time I looked up, it was him splashing a 3.
He probably needs to, they need to figure out how to use him a smidge more. Because he's a nice complimentary piece.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he gets lost in the shuffle.
See, I think Malcolm Brogdon's a lot like that, too.
Yeah, Brogdon's
what does he
tough.
play, like 23 minutes a game?
I was a Brogdon guy coming out.
You know,
I was trying to make the case for Player of the Year for Brogdon for 2 years in a row at Virginia.
When we talked to Tony Mejia yesterday, and I asked for the most underrated player in the NBA, and he said Jalen Brunson. I lean Malcolm Brogdon as somebody that is the most underrated in the playoffs right now.
Relative to what they do, it's probably Brunson, but I'm not sure how underrated Brunson is.
That's
anymore.
what I'm saying.
Brogdon
people know, hey, he's the guy out there.
So there are people in Indiana that still want Brogdon back.
They talk about complimentary pieces.
They still haven't
They
still haven't really recovered.
Hey, we're going to do the sports six-pack early today. That's going to be in the next segment because we are built up on the back end of the show, as DB alluded to earlier. We're talking to Brian Edwards at 8:45. We have Michael Bruntz at 9 and Aaron Fitt at 9:45. The Matt Rule thoughts? The Matt Rule thought from yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show as well.
Super thoughtful text.
Oh, I'd love to get into that eventually.
No, not publicly.
Off the air.
Take a stab at what time it was. Give me the 2-hour window.
3:30 a.m.
And what's the 2 hours? Is it before or after that?
I'm going to guess it's before.
Close, but no.
Dang.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on, shall we?
Early morning thoughts. Hey, with Nebraska baseball and their midweek adventures, we'll just go with that. It's nothing less than frustrating, but I don't think we haven't been giving them a pass.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in the season, too, with the weapons you have on this team and the offense that you're showing in games, you can't end up losing to North Dakota State. You can't end up losing to Creighton. You can't end up losing to Omaha. You can't take these midweek games and just act
on the routine.
Act like it's your kryptonite.
Yeah.
A 5-run first inning for the Bison. That started everything. 5-run first inning. All runs came on home runs for the Huskers. That's kind of been the majority of this season. It's, the Bryce Matthews, Max Anderson, plus some show. That's a positive for sure. But you have to avoid giving up large leads early. You're talking about the starting point, setting the tone. Getting out of the early frames with zeros is so underappreciated, it's not even funny. Because it brings confidence in the moment.
Does this have anything to do with the fact you love first inning unders?
Yeah, that maybe plays into it a little bit. But it's the weight off the shoulders, right? Because this group right now doesn't have much belief on a Tuesday or a Wednesday that they're going to end up coming away with the W. And call it whatever you want, but it's a lot easier to rally when you're the first to strike. A lot easier. This is a bad loss. NDSU came into Lincoln with like 11 games under 500 or something like that. All games matter, but at this point in the season, especially, you need to help your record. It's especially important to get wins like this.
The thing that I don't understand is, just these situational at-bats, and it wasn't a ton of guys, left on base. I think it was 10 combined, 6 for Nebraska, I believe. But, good at-bats and situational hitting seem to really bug these guys, where you have a chance to, break open big innings. Coach Bolt said something a couple of 3 weeks ago. And then he reiterated it again in another situation. This was either last week or 2 weeks ago. He's like, runners on first and third and 1 out. We probably need to see a few better pitches than we saw in that at bat in the first inning. So those are things. And if you're not watching the game, it doesn't mean a whole lot. But basically, what he's saying, listen, first and third, you got a 1-0 count. You swing it 2 balls out of the zone. Mm-hmm. You could have easily been looking at 3-0. Instead, you're 1-2. And the next thing you know, you've struck out. Now, you could argue. Analytics guy will say, at least he didn't hit into a double play, right?
But there were a lot more cases where the run could have scored.
I just need some more productive outs because you're conceding a run in the first inning anyway, right? So just get ahead. Or in that particular case, it would have been answering. Mm-hmm. Because I think, SDSU maybe got one early. I know they got the bunch in the second, but
right.
When he said it a month ago, who'd they play? It was Iowa. Just the inability to have, he called them competitive at bats within a game that don't show up in the box score at one way or another outside of a hit out error walk thing, but means so much more than that, where you have a chance to work a pitcher or a guy may be on the hook and they bail him out and you could potentially have to go to somebody in the bullpen and stretch a midweek starter, but he gets off the hook and he gets some momentum and then he has confidence. And then next thing you know, they're getting a 4-inning start. But now that wasn't going to be the case last night because I don't think anybody from NDSU threw more than 2 innings, but it's stuff like that. I remember, Anglem a couple weeks ago, second and third, 1 out. Just hit it in the air
or hit it to the right side,
right? And instead, you chase a couple hours. And I'm not hammering Anglem. I'm just using it as an example, just because I remember the at bat. But
situational hitting like that,
it seems to avoid them because what's quietly gotten significantly better? The bullpen.
Yes, they have.
Right? For all the consternation and hand-wringing we had over pitching.
If you notice, what did I say at the beginning of this? You're letting runs on the board early.
Yeah.
You're not letting runs on the board late.
Yeah.
It's all early. We'll be back with more conversation like this on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
Hey, welcome back. It's time for the Sports Six-Pack. Before we get there, let's tell you about Zipline Brewing. How about the brewery tap room located immediately adjacent to their brewing facilities? You can't get fresher beer than that poured at the original tap room location. There they cater to those seeking the complete beer experience from grain to glass. Try something special from their cellar. Meet the people behind the beer. It's Zipline Brewing.
Question number 1.
So do you go Fitt, Vader, or Chewbacca? Oh, wait, that's not the question.
You can make that the question. I'm more of a Spaceballs guy.
I would go.
I'll go Pizza the Hut.
That one's easy. I'd go Boba Fett. Boba.
Not Django?
Nope. Unchained?
By the way, we got some. I was telling you kind of off here. The 5 biggest Star Wars people I know, 4 of them I've worked with. Shane Schillerberg, Kevin Kugler, Michael Severe, John Bishop, and the 5th would be Marty Cordero.
Well, and you've worked with Marty in some way, shape, or form.
In various capacities. Those guys are all over the top. They know everything.
All Comic-Con guys?
I don't know if they're all well, I know Severe is. And I'm sure Bish is probably taking Christian or something. Kevin has girls, so I don't know. But he maybe went by himself.
Would you go to Comic-Con by yourself, Shane?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not afraid to do anything by myself.
They have guests there. I mean, at one time I met Jake the Snake.
I don't
Roberts
want to go to a restaurant and eat by myself.
Oh, I've done it 2 trillion times.
No, because I don't want to be there and sit on my phone.
Oh, I don't.
I'll eat. I'm doing.
Yeah, but there's stuff to do at Comic-Con now.
Dude, I eat by myself all the time.
So you go to the restaurant. Say you're in a booth. You sit down in a booth. You don't touch your phone.
I might, but I'm not mad at myself over that.
Well, no, and I'm not saying you have to be mad. I'm saying a lot of cases I like the company, so that's why I like to go eat with somebody.
No.
So you'd sit there on your phone.
Kind of overrated.
Yeah, because you got to kill the time before your food gets
Peace
there.
of mind. I sat out by myself day before yesterday for an hour. I didn't do one thing. I sat there.
That's cool too.
Admiring my grass. Like Shane in his car. Question 2, Little Face, who's on the phone with everybody because all of a sudden we get crazy calls all the time.
Taking callers.
Hey, Little Feet. Let's ride.
Question number 1.
If your team's football program got shut down and you had to pick a new team, who would you go with?
USC.
That was quick. But that's your dad's team.
I love them.
My football team, the Lindenwood Lions, new D1 football team.
You have enough money.
Not too great. I don't know.
Really?
I've never really had a college football team because I never grew up in it. Mizzou was never my team.
Yeah. Shout out Martin Rucker. Kobe Jones.
I liked the way that Coastal
James Wilder,
Carolina played.
Kellen Winslow. They got Tim Beck too. You should cheer for them. They're recruiting one of our guys.
Coastal?
Yeah. No, Rezak may already have an offer. Nah, if not, he may already have an offer. I'm pretty sure he does. By the way, Notre Dame coming in today for workouts. 1 o'clock. Shane,
go. I'm going to go with Coastal.
Question number 2.
Your McCall reference yesterday. You do like some Coastal.
It seems everybody that likes the Kentucky Derby has a story tied to why they like it. So I ask you, why do you like the Kentucky Derby? How'd you get into it?
I got into it late. I went to Churchill Downs with my dad, with my brother, did the tour, not during the Kentucky Derby, out of season. Did the whole museum backside of things, and then I just really fell in love with the idea behind the whole thing. And then I watched every race since.
So it's 2 for me. This is funny that this is a question. Remember the guy that I was telling you about yesterday, Saaty, Sadie? Mm-hmm. That I was like, throwing up on my Acura. So he used to work at this place that doesn't exist anymore in Omaha. It's a place called Seven Monkeys. This is early 2000s. It's right by my house. Led to a lot of debauchery. So one time somebody asked for a mint julep. And I said to him, this has to be the biggest waste of time for an itty-bitty drink of any drink that I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, that's because you never tried it. So, of course, he made one. I'm like, this is ridiculous. He's like, do you know how many people drink these at the Derby?
That's the drink.
And that's when I first started being captivated by the style of dress, the traditions, the fact that drinks cost $1,000, all of that. And then the fact that my mom loves horses. Right. Loves horses.
So I also had a betting story to share.
This is 2003, maybe?
Yeah.
4?
Well, I actually also fell in love with Secretariat. So the history behind the Triple Crown winners.
One of our motivational segments last year, 2 years ago. Doc, we do the Wizard Wednesdays, was about Secretariat.
Yeah, the Disney movie, of course, is a Disney movie, but
40 minutes in a lecture hall over Secretariat.
Loved it. But so I bet on Mandaloon to beat. Was it Medina Spirit that cheated?
Medina Spirit. Did you say Mandalorian?
Did Shelby Houlihan? No, Mandaloon, I believe is the horse's name. Bob Baffert's horse. Medina Spirit, that's what it was.
Listen to the Mandolin Spirit.
He was 15-1 when I got him. I think it was like 20 to win 300.
I thought it was Mandolin Bay.
Different hotel. And
you're never going to get back on track.
Mandaloun got the win eventually because Medina Spirit got his title stripped for steroid use. But because
great role in Pet Detective, by the way, Funky Cole Medina.
But because sportsbooks operate timely,
come on, Ace.
And this happened a week after the race was over, I didn't get paid out for my Mandaloun victory.
So we got into some steaming, heated debate. We were, in my former life, we were broadcasting out at the Storm Chasers. Remember that segment, Shane? On air, off air, over the DQ. Yeah. Like, I mean, it was steaming, Willie beaming with Coles.
Uh-huh.
I was like, wow. When are they going to rule on this? Whether get paid out, not get paid out? Folks were hot.
Well, I was mad, and I understood why, because when you're at the Derby, you get paid out right at the window. So, like, they already paid the winners of Medina Spirit. But, like, what a conspiracy to be able to, like, pull something off like that. And what? Bob Baffert got banned for how many years? Not that many. And if you did some backdoor deals and you said, hey, I'm going to drug up my horse and I'm going to make my horse win and they're not going to test my horse until after.
Couple of my buddies with tickets in 136 and sprinkling a little 15
this year.
Yeah.
How about Rich Strike winning 80-1 last year? You know everybody's betting on the long shot this year.
Well, you take one or two. I'll get my mom's picks because I don't know how to. I wouldn't even know how to play horses. But and then we'll talk to Big A tomorrow. Who's by the way, he's hilarious.
Can't wait.
Question 3, Shane. We never get through these. It's always
that's why it's nice to have another segment following this where we can just butt in.
If you had to be born part animal so it made you better at your sport of choice, what animal would you pick?
Oh, better at my sport? Can't be my favorite animal? Fudge.
Can I go first?
Sport of choice. Go ahead.
Such a child.
Go ahead.
A rhino.
What is your sport of choice?
I'd play football. I mean, once you get going as a rhino, you can't be stopped.
Fair. Okay. Feel like I'd like to be a cheetah.
Very short bursts of stamina, though.
Mm-hmm.
So if you housed everyone, that's cool. But remember, they got to rest after they conserve that energy.
Right. But if I had speed like a cheetah, dude, you put me at wide receiver. See ya.
Yeah, that would be the obvious answer. I kind of like that. But what if I'm not? You know what I'm going to take?
What's an animal with a super strong leg?
I'm going to take a lion because they're powerful and they're in short bursts too. But I got to be able to run through contact. Cheetahs ain't running through anything.
Well,
give me the lion.
What animal do you think has the strongest legs?
Kangaroos, maybe.
Like, can you kangaroo and be a kicker?
Yeah, be Tristan Albano.
Yeah, I'll be kicking 80-yard field goals.
So you'd want to be a kicker?
I've always wanted to be a kicker.
Oh, that's why you want.
I have an infatuation for kickers. Yeah. Oh my goodness!
By the way, he's good to go.
Because my parents always told me you can't play football, but if you play football, you have to be a kicker. That. Well, my uncles are in wheelchairs because of football, so my great uncles, I should say, their uncles, but they were linemen, and I'm like, I feel like I got just as many concussions in soccer that I probably would have gotten in football.
Yeah, that's a real thing, by the way. That's closer to my household than you think. Shane, go ahead.
Question number 4.
In just 2 days, the Huskers get, is it Unlin and
Ullin?
Ulis
and Elak. With his comment, Nebraska now has just one remaining scholarship space open. Their final need is what?
We running out of time here, Shane? Should we wait?
Yeah, you're past time.
We passed time.
That's unreal. We can't ever finish a sports six-pack.
No.
Some of the questions are hard.
It's got to be a top-of-the-hour thing, which I guess will continue at the top of the hour here.
More zip line for everybody, baby.
Right. Yeah, just start pouring them. We're shotgunning beers at the 8 o'clock segment.
Buzz, why not?
This week, maybe. Right?
Why not?
All right, we'll be back with question, what are we on, 4? 4, 5, and 6 coming your way.
Question 4. Why is Shane so weird?
And still a lot to get to. It's Coffee and Cream with Damon Benning and Andrew Rogers here from Hail Varsity Club. We'll be back after the break.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hey, here we are once again to continue the Sports Six-Pack because DB and I, all we do is talk.
Yeah, my man Dookie Clint, he says he loves to eat by himself.
Okay, so if I go to a bar, I'll go by myself. Like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
There's TVs, there's good company. Like that's cool. If I go to a restaurant, I don't want to be by myself.
Yeah. I was telling you the story off air. I had just gotten on Twitter fresh off my divorce, and I was looking for a breakfast place. So I put it out on Twitter because I love breakfast food, and when you're married, sometimes a lot, like, we'd only had like a couple of places, right? We'd go to like La Peep, and I can't remember where the other place was, but I didn't get to eat the way that I wanted to all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, nah, man, I think I'm looking for a place. So I got like 15 or 16 recommendations. And remember, I was a guy that didn't even want to be on Twitter. I think Josh, I told you the story. Josh Peterson got me started on Twitter. Like, did my password, the whole thing. I didn't know anything about it. Now I can't live without Twitter, right? It's just weird how that works. I was like, I'm not doing it.
I didn't want to do Twitter either when I first got in.
So somebody recommended Bailey's, right? And so I looked at all of them.
Good alcohol.
Right? Absolutely not. Ugh. Clear. So I went in there, and of course I was solo. It was a Saturday morning. I looked at the menu, and I ordered the Porkosaurus. And there was like some, you could eat it, get a T-shirt, whatever. I ate it, no problem. Was joking with the waitress. I was like, hey, my biscuits and gravy, the sausages, or it's a little warm. I said, can you go back and warm this up? I want to put over my potatoes. I don't really like potatoes, but I knew I had to eat it. So short story long, I kind of figured out who I was because I'm just in there by myself, and I'm not in a hurry. I'm totally chilling, right? Just taking my time. It's a place that I still eat at today, and I bet you I've ordered the Porkosaurus just as a regular meal at least 3 or 4 times.
And how much food is it? Like, how many calories?
Oh, it's a lot. But I took my mom out. This was probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I was embarrassed to order it in front of her. But I wanted it, so I just ordered like some side meats to kind of make up for it. But I could eat it just like on a humbug. It's like not that big of a deal anymore. As a matter of fact, I have 2 T-shirts. They wanted to like do this billboard.
It says it's only a 2-star difficulty,
and it's not tough. And I was so embarrassed, like just with life in general. The thought of being on a billboard was like, no way. Like, adulterer, it's like I wasn't gonna do that. Like they're in the scarlet letter, right? So it's like, yeah, let's not do the billboard thing. Let's just, I'll take another T-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I could order like a meal. It's not that big of a deal. I would recommend it, and they have great food.
Well, I got to go try more breakfast spots here in town altogether because breakfast is
it's hard because it's such a small window, and the good places are always crowded.
Mm-hmm.
But like I could tell you all the spots. Over easy,
great breakfast place,
best breakfast sausage. Like I could give you whatever you want. I'd tell you.
Oh yeah,
Williamsburg. Like there's some good low key spots too.
You're always my resource for everything.
Oh,
everything. It's good to have friends.
Well, good to eat breakfast.
It's also good to eat breakfast. Shane, let's continue.
Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company. Makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
Since it's been about 10 minutes, I'm on like beer 6, so I forget what question we're on.
4. We are on 4.
Oh, so I'm a couple ahead.
Question number 4.
In just 2 days, the Huskers. Oh, wait.
Yeah, because we didn't get to this answer yet.
Oh, okay. So I got to read this again.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
All right.
Ulyss.
In just 2 days, the Huskers get Ulyss and Alec with his comment. Nebraska now has just 1 remaining scholarship space open. Their final need is what?
I don't know. I think they should go the corner route. Bag it and tag it. Just save it.
I like that idea. I really do. I don't know if they have a true need right now. I think they filled their holes nicely.
That's kind of how I feel about Creighton too.
Why don't you go out?
Just wait, right? You got 3 guys. You're not getting one of them back.
Maybe you get a scholarship guy. You go get a scholarship guy. Go get like a young recruit and develop.
Bag it and tag it. Save it. I like what they did. They went from doom and gloom. They went from optimism, like this euphoria, especially when Wrightsell and Hunt were available, like, on the brink, and they had just gotten Rank and the fellas, to, man, another Nebraska offseason. We're doomed. We're on the plan 12. Can't get any guards. What's Hoiberg doing? I'd say to, wow, didn't see that coming. I kind of like where they're at. I'd bag it and tag it, Shane.
Question.
That's just me. I liked it. I think it's a good call.
Hunter Dickerson said he'd make his transfer announcement today. What conference will he end up in?
Dickerson.
Oh, Dickinson. Sorry.
It's all in a Richard.
I think so. You're moving from, like, what were his options? Like, Villanova was one. Maryland was another because that's where he's from.
Ed Cooley's in
Georgetown because that's in the vicinity of where he grew up. KU was in the hunt just because they're KU. If I took a guess, I'm going to go with Villanova. So Justin Moore is an old teammate of his. He's staying because he got big NIL money. They got better as a team. Plus, it almost seems like he'd be the perfect Big East big man. You move from one blue blood to another blue blood in a different conference. Would you consider Villanova a blue blood?
No.
Maybe not then.
Don't take my word for it. It's only been since 85.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to ask.
LSU, the LSU of basketball.
Okay.
Johnny Come-Latelys.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm with that. So, I mean, he seems like your prototypical Big East big man.
You know where I'd like to see him go?
North Carolina.
No. We're not good. We've been hitting this. Plus, I like where they're going with their young guys. Now, we may need a new coach by then. And I watched Ian Jackson just torch our local ETGs for 31. I'd like to see him go to Georgetown. Be with Cooley and his soon-to-be-named rounded-out staff here in the next month.
I mean, I'll tell you what. If he goes to Georgetown, they already look pretty good next season.
I hope he goes to Georgetown.
So 2 Big East schools is what we're going with.
He's from the area.
Yeah. So I went with relationship, former teammate. You went with close to home.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Question number 6.
Who will have a better first year in the league, Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson?
I'll go on a limb and say Anthony Richardson will have the better first year.
Just to be different? I'd rather be right. Give me Bryce Young.
So who's Bryce Young throwing to?
Doesn't matter.
So I'm gonna.
How many snaps is Anthony Richardson getting?
Oh, he'll get them all.
All?
Mm-hmm. He'll be the starter from day one.
Oh, be interested to see that.
I'm gonna go with Anthony Richardson.
Remember, the Colts are ready to win now.
Mm-hmm.
You think
so? Who are you going with?
Well, if you look at their roster, they have some veteran options. I don't listen.
Give me AR.
If AR is a day one starter, he's going to be rookie of the year. Why? Oh, DP, that hyperbole. The Colts are pretty good. And they're in a winnable division.
So you have Gardner Minshew ahead of him on the chart right now? No way. Gardner Minshew's booty.
Okay.
Give me Anthony Richardson day one.
I'm telling you, if Anthony Richardson starts for the Colts, they made the greatest draft pick ever because that team is close to winning in a very winnable division.
Very winnable.
So he is coming.
Who do you feel comfortable
So you're
with?
going from a guy that's got 15 starts.
Minshew mania?
You got to buy him some time, though.
Sometimes. I disagree with that, especially when the Bears drafted Trubisky. I could not believe you trade up one pick, give up a ton.
You waited to start him, and he still got off to a slow start. You just rushing the futility?
And that's my thing. Why would you trade up so early to sit him for 8-9 weeks of football? In this case,
because you're trying to win. You got a locker room you have to manage. Those guys have to know who you're playing. you're instilling in them that we're giving you the best chance to win.
Yeah, and I don't think Gardner Minshew gives you the best chance.
I don't know,
to
maybe
win.
in small doses.
Not for me. Anthony Richardson should be the guy day one. Bryce Young should be the guy day one, which he will be.
I'll take twice as nice.
And I'll say this too. Anthony Richardson definitely has the higher ceiling in year one because of his team.
Well, I'm not gonna necessarily discount that, but remember they're in the same division too.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's got to make a move. Texans, in my opinion, had the better coaching hire. Front office,
no question.
Front office, though, maybe advantage Colts.
We are making
I
fools out
don't know
here.
how I feel about Shane.
No, I understand. I wouldn't like.
I don't know how I feel about
spar over that.
Who's
by the way, they
who's
got to
in-
let me know this fight is close because Bud is out of town.
Who's in Arizona? Gannon?
Yeah, didn't they have to settle up on the collusion, which, by the way, flew under the radar? They totally backdoored hiring a coach, and I think they swapped picks. I'm asking Shane like he'd know. I know it's sports related, Shane. Yeah,
there it goes.
Too busy swinging your lightsaber. Didn't they settle up on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right.
So yeah, that's the guy. But I mean, if you're right about Rich, and listen, I kind of want him to succeed, just because I don't know, man. I don't cheer for the Colts, but I'm a huge Edgerrin James guy. I love Gene Huey, who coached running backs there. So I'm kind of like, okay,
they have the pieces to win.
I got a couple buddies that like him. That offensive line has got to get put back together. But
yeah, Jonathan Taylor did not have the year he had 2 years ago.
God, he's
but
sensational,
defensively,
though.
they're good.
Listen, I heart JT. And by the way, Bijan Robinson, better Taylor.
Can't wait to see it.
They remind me of each other.
Tyler Algier fantasy owners are
big
ticked
dives,
off right now.
fast, easy runners. Like, were you surprised to hear Severe say the other day that A.J. Allen, he felt like was the best of the bunch?
No, because I think a lot of people have been saying that. You say it. Travis, our guy, Husker X's and O's says it. Severe says it. I've heard other people say it. People thought A.J. Allen was like the best runner when he was in.
Did you see what happened when he hit the portal, though? Is that just fans fanning like, deep room, blah, blah, blah? Because I didn't hear. I didn't hear, oh, man, he's the best talent. Hate to see him go. I didn't see that one time.
I think I saw more alluding to that versus, well, no, I shouldn't say that because a lot of people said the deep room. But I saw a good amount of people say, man, A.J. Allen is the guy that I thought would be the one to be taking snaps.
I go back to, you weren't here yet, but I remember going to these practices. Coach Brown was coaching running backs, and they had Braylon Hurd, Aaron Green, Amir Abdullah, Rex Burkhead.
Pretty fire.
Yeah. And so I'd watched a little, and I'm, of course, DB hot takes, right? I'm like, man, I said Braylon Hurd is the best natural runner of this group. Green was the most sought after as a recruit. Amir was the throw-in, and Rex was the most polished. That's how it was, right? Like, that's kind of how I looked at him. And I watched him practice like 4 days, a total of 4 days. And I immediately said to myself, oh, shoot, man, these guys got to figure it out because they're following two guys. Aaron Green and Braylon Hurd were following two guys that always wanted to be the first two to get reps. Rex, followed by Amir. So what your eye tells you is, ooh, I know these other two guys are talented, but they're not trying to go get it like these other two. So you have some guys that set the tempo in practice. And I said, I told my partner at the time, I go, I don't think those two can keep up with the energy that Rex and Amir are vibing with right now. Like, you guys practice hard. And they have a coach that was demanding, like, finite stuff.
Excellence.
Like you have, it wasn't even, I don't mistake activity for achievement, right? So I don't know if it was excellence. It was just, there were things that he wanted done a particular way. And he hadn't coached running backs before, so I wasn't like fawning over the drills or anything. I just was like, hey, whatever the coach says, he wants it this way. Like, so you have to be able to receive that. I think the same thing about A.J. Allen. Like, talented room, there are some guys that practice a certain way, so you have to be able to keep up with it. I mean, I was fortunate, right? I got my tail kicked, and I remember Corey Schlesinger, like he like headbutted me in a drill, and told me that, I needed to do it hard. Like he used the term p-footing. I didn't even know what that meant. Like, what does p-footing mean, right? Stop moving around, right? And he's like, he headbutted me, and I was like, okay, like, we're on the same team, right? Aren't we supposed to brother-in-law this a little bit? And they didn't have that then, and I'm not sure they're ready for that now. It's still being instilled by Coach Barthel.
Mm-hmm.
So when your coach is dictating the practice tempo and you're not, that commitment continuum, if you're not compelled, sometimes your talent doesn't show. So you have to be willing to get inside and look to make that distinction. That's why, Gabe Irvin is going to do things a certain way, the right way, right? Ramir Johnson's going to practice a certain way. Anthony Grant, and I'll continue to say this, while he may not be the most natural runner, he's come the furthest. Like today, Anthony Grant has come further under Coach EJ than any of the backs. I think I could safely say that. But some of it doesn't have anything to do with ability. It's what's the practice culture?
Right.
Because the practice culture can weed you out. Now, Aaron Green ends up transferring. He goes to TCU. He's fantastic. Some people thought he should have been drafted, and he's a little small. Braylon Hurd transfers to Kentucky. He's fantastic, right? So sometimes it's just those things are hard to gauge just because of what the practice culture is. Like even AG, we'd ask, like he had to learn to practice different. That's why we were so hard on him. Like he didn't know how to practice. And when he was asked to practice a certain way, it was always like, oh man, this guy's a 5-star, he's a phenom. They want him to come along. So then guys get, they get jealous, we're a little resentful. LP was hard. Like that's not for everybody, right? So when the players start to run those drills and they do the dictating and it's not so coach led, that's when I actually think you can see people function.
That reminds me of the illusion of success. So the iceberg theory, where you see 10% only, but you don't see the 90% below.
I got you.
And that is actually a great segue into what I was reading about after we talked about commitment continuum and the illusion of success. How do you perceive success, right? When you look at 10%, you see the good, right? You see the team winning, right? You're like, oh, wow, this is great. Everything's fantastic. You see bits and pieces of practice on social media, and you're like, oh, that hit by Harburg was the best effort I've seen, Gifford. Right? Yeah. Or, oh, I saw A.J. Allen's little, back and forth with Barthel, and like, oh, I'm seeing 10% of everything, right? But you never see the 90% that goes along with it. Everything else that kind of is piled on too. You get 10% of the story. But I think that principle can be applied in so many other cases, just like what you were just explaining. Like, yeah, you see this, but what you miss is the endless hours of hard work that's being put toward into the season. The learning that you have to do, the film watching that you have to do, the adjusting you have to do with a new coaching staff. And, ultimately Nebraska wants to deliver for the state. Like, that's obvious. That's the obvious thing. And that's what you wake up for every day. And
Coach Rule kind of alluded to that, right? When he was talking about the break, for Easter. And he talked about what's after spring ball. He's like, hey, listen, that's cool. You can go to class, do your finals, gotta find some time to do football too. Mm-hmm. Like, he's basically telling you it's the things that you have to do that are different than what everybody else is doing. That
no doubt to me about that.
That at some point you hope everybody's doing it, and that's getting in extra work.
Well, they don't mind accountability. That's what drives them. That's what drives this coaching staff. That's what drives this team. If they do well, not only will it be received well, but it will continue to go well. But if things are not going well, people are going to be pissed. They're going to be impatient again. And now all of a sudden, you'll get that, I'm shaking my head. Like, I can't believe this is, I'm going through another season of this. All of that drives them. And that's, at the same time, what is under the iceberg for them. Like, this team, they know the 90%. They know what they can see, but they're only showing you, or really, you're only seeing what you want to see. And that's what's on top, what you can really, truly see, which is nice to have media members like you, like me, like all the writers that we talk to that go to practice, that speak to the coaching staff, that talk to the players every day, because that gives you a little insight on what that other 90% is. But ultimately, this illusion of success and how you perceive success extends so much deeper.
Oh, that's one of my favorite attributes when I talk about players. A couple of coaches were in town the last couple of days, and they're asking me about some gems. Hey, what are we missing here? Or what about this guy or this, that? And there's a couple guys that I was telling them about, and one's not in Class A. And I said, the thing about him, he doesn't need a babysitter. He's going to do the things. And that's my favorite thing to say when I'm trying to project future at the next level. How self-sustaining are you? How intrinsically motivated are you? Because you can't just do what they tell you to do. Like, it's not enough. It's not enough anymore. And those are one of the things that I look at. Let's take this call real quick during this segment. Let's go to Michigan Lance. Michigan Lance, good morning, man. Weird to hear from you.
What's up, my guy?
Hey, what's up, fellas? Andrew, do not make it a hat trick as the third person to pissing me off comes tomorrow.
Let's hear it.
Because Suge was first this week, and now DB second. I am offended and appalled that I wasn't mentioned as a so-called friend of yours who's into Star Wars.
I know.
Help me, Obi-Wan.
I didn't get into you lecturing me off air about my dumb questions from about 4 years ago.
And, he names 5 people, which are all lighter than me. I'm probably his only darker skin friend. Because
you don't think that I don't think it's cool for black people to like Star Wars?
Yes, I think that's what you're portraying. And so I'm darker than all those people. Michael Severe walks down the street. He's black, but he has to tell people. But when I walk down the street, they know.
Wow.
So, DB, yes, you do have a black friend that is into Star Wars.
Oh my
I'm so good at Star Wars that I can relate Tupac, who didn't know what he was talking about earlier this week, to Darth Vader, and how their lives are similar.
Oh, Lord.
Between a lot of internal conflict between good and evil. All right?
They both live in...
And you can say Death Row was the dark side.
Hey, so are they both in Indonesia now?
Hey, maybe. Hey, they might be. Hey, is that the real Biden? Who knows? All right? Maybe they're with the real Biden in Indonesia. I don't know.
You're moving the mask around? Wow.
Hey, man, may the fourth be with you guys. DB, practice, right? You were talking about practice.
Yes. Not a game, not a game.
Man. Hey, my son went through it in practice last week, and I told him, control what you can control. Right now, you're worried about the coaches. You're worried about being corrected, and you get down when they correct you when you think you're doing things right. Come back this week. Oh, it's a better week. Why? Because his body language changed. His effort changed. Oh, when he's not in, he's towing the sideline. He's attentive. He's trying to, I say, hey, run out there, make them take you out on drills. Yep. He's running out there. They take him out, but then sometimes they leave him.
That you know what's funny? That's how Amir and Rex won the job. Thanks, Michigan Lance. I appreciate it.
We appreciate
we'll
you.
Come back. We'll come back with that because there is something to that.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. We're live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. If you missed the back end of Michigan Lance talking about practice and attributing certain things we were talking about to his own son and not what he was talking prior to in part one of this conversation.
But Severe may want to break him off a phone call. Oh, man. I know he's kind of saying it in jest, but.
But you thought there were a lot of comparisons to what he was saying in the back end of his response.
I do, because, like, you're I don't really know how to say it, but nobody really knows how good you're capable of being unless you practice that way. Right? Like, it's not one of, and so often people, when they're out there, it's like they think it only matters when people are watching them. Like, stop letting people get reps in front of you. Like, I never understood that. And even the good ones, like, you go to some of these camps and a couple are kind of more meat market-ish than I think they are productive camps. But it's like, if you're letting people get reps, you're missing the whole deal. Like, it should be a fight. When Micah Parsons was here for Friday Night Lights, now he's talented, right? I mean, he's talented enough to not be taking advantage of workout with his team because he's focused on putting on weight because
Right.
he's going to just rush the passer, which
seems to work for him.
I mean, I guess. And Quinn, I trust because he's a good defensive mind. It seems like he kind of playing away from the totality of his game because he's hard to game plan for.
Yeah, you don't want to just be one thing.
Once you put him on the line of scrimmage and you rush. Anyway, he I told bits and pieces of this story. Like, he was sleeping while everybody was registering. Some of the big time recruits were kind of just hanging out, right? They weren't, but it was packed. Nebraska fans were like line. I bet they had 10,000 for Friday Night Lights, which is basically just a high school showcase, right? 10, 12,000, I bet. I'm probably low. And so he comes out a little late. He's probably 20, 25 minutes late. Kind of saunters on out there, does a few little warm-ups. He's watching. Now, there are some good players, really good players. So he cuts a couple guys in line. This is the night I met Ryan Clark. I was telling you off air yesterday. And because, Howard Griffin's son was there. Ryan Clark's son was there. I mean, like, they had some thoroughbreds. Brendan Riley-Hiles.
Good Kentucky Derby reference.
Really good players. And he just cut like 6 guys in line. He's like, man, I need to get a rep. So then he covered somebody, and everybody was like, ooh, because everybody knew Micah Parsons, right? About 4 minutes later, he cut every wide receiver, just like pushed them back and did a wide receiver rep at 216 pounds. Caught a touchdown. The crowd went crazy. Went and like jacked around a little bit, then came back and hopped in and got another rep. And I'm just like, why are you guys letting him do that? He's telling you who he thinks he is relative to you,
the players.
And you're telling me who you are
right,
by letting him do that. Right? That's why I always, it's huge, man. I said it with Easton Stick. I said it with Casey Sales. I say it with JT Brands. I say it with some guys that don't need babysitters. Those are the guys that you go get. Right? I watch those practices with all those running backs, and I'm like, there has to be some sort of sense of urgency. Don't be 4th or 5th in line and wondering why you're not getting any love.
Right.
I just watched Rex do 6 reps. You guys have done 1. And the only guy that matched his energy, weird, was Amir Abdullah. Man. I don't care if you're older than me. Like, what? Amir's getting ahead of these other young guys. I'm like, okay, you guys don't, like, they're not going to know. So don't be in your feelings. And that's kind of how I
take
felt
initiative.
Like, right? Like,
be compelling. The commitment continuum.
So, like, right? You got to be compelled because so much is going on around that you're going to figure it out. So the only takeaway in that video that people brought up again the other day when A.J. Allen left was, hustle to get back in line to do it again because you're competitive. Not the fact that you didn't do it right the first time. The problem is young people don't realize that real time. So there's this tendency to feel like it's personal.
You're singling me out.
It's not personal. It just has to be, again, the standard is the standard, right? I watched a quarterback turn the ball over in the red zone. Scrambling, threw a ball across his body. It gets picked. DB takes a knee in the end zone. I watched 2 coaches run like a 4.940.
Like a bat out of hell.
To this particular quarterback's face. How many times do I have to tell you, stop turning the blankety blank blank ball over in the blankety blank blank red zone? I'm not having it. Stop turning it over. Right? Like, it's a scene if you want it to be a scene, right? What's this particular quarterback do the next rep? They're doing 9-on-7 run game inside. Fake boot, crafty ball handling. Sells the fake. Trots in the end zone. Next play, little slip, tight end dump. See, like he received it well. So what you're forcing the coaches to think to themselves is a couple of things. You're making them forget about the turnover. Number one, because of how you responded. But number two, because they understand that you can function at a high level, even though something 4 minutes ago, literally 4 minutes ago, didn't go your way. All right. I watched these two guys compete at camp. It's Under Armour camp in Kansas City. And obviously college coaches can't be there, but they get the tape. Right? So I'm having this conversation with a couple of schools that were coming in, and they're talking about players regionally. And the coach said to me, gosh, he said, I just don't understand with this particular player. I didn't see him fight for a ball, contest catches, go get it in the air. Like he was getting 1 out of every 7 reps. Like I'm not buying what the recruiting analysts say. And I looked at him and I know the particular player, and I was like, 1,000% you're spot on. 1,000%. Because those are the guys, when you get to college and there's 6 of you and you're all about the same, it doesn't have anything to do with what's happening on the field. It's what happens off. It's what happens off. Like if I would have taken lifting a little more serious.
I say that all the time.
Stop worrying about my social life a little too much. Stop drinking. Like if there were things that I could control off the field that I would have done better, then being a top 10 testing athlete would have actually mattered more. Mm-hmm. If I break a freshman performance index record, which I did, it would have mattered more if I wasn't so immature. Right? If you chose to be a separator. Right. If I was actually compelled. Mm-hmm. But I spend so much goddamn time being reluctant, not wanting to buy it because, oh man, are you not seeing this, this, and this? How could you not? That's what I would tell myself. How delusional is that? But the problem is that's how too many people think right now.
Right.
I listened to a kid tell me that he was just at the camp not to participate, but he was networking. Oh, okay. All right. Let me know how that works out for you next year.
Yeah.
I know you're big time.
I'll tell you what, networking only works if you're at a convention.
Listen, I'm just like, it's
not a camp.
It's just so not what we
networking in camp is doing everything that the camp is asking you to do.
So, like,
you don't need to talk to people.
And I get
Let
it.
your
Like,
work talk for itself.
Like sometimes you work with people that are just that talented, but a lot of times what you hear on like talk radio or at Mutual or whatever, it's what those people are doing when they're actually not at work.
Show me again. Show me the effort.
Right? But like when they're actually not at work.
Right.
That a lot of times can be the separator.
That's the ultimate networking tool, though.
That's why I always say enjoy the people that love the game that more than they love being recruited.
Mm-hmm. Be a separator. I like that.
That's all I
Good
got.
take there by DB. When we come back, Brian Edwards here on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Now, Vegas insider, senior handicapper, and fan of the cold Budweiser bottles, Brian Edwards.
It's got to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Brian Edwards.
I don't really love it.
Brian Edwards.
Were they using the cream cheese to butter the bagel?
Brian Edwards.
I'm going with the cowgirl.
Here is Brian Edwards.
Hey, we're back on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Brian Edwards from MajorWager.com, BrianEdwardsSports.com, here with us now at Vegas B. Edwards on Twitter, and he's about to give us the plays of the rest of the week into the weekend. Brian, you look comfortable. Good morning, man.
Good morning, gentlemen. What's happening?
B, what's up, buddy? You got this whole headset, mute thing. You got it down to a science now, man. It's like you're rolling.
It's about time. It took a minute.
Hey, so let me ask you something real quick. So Andrew and I were arguing. Yeah, arguing. No, actually debating. No, actually discussing. He says Anthony Richardson's day one in Indy as a starter. I said if he's day one in Indy, not only are the Colts going to be really, really good, he's probably rookie of the year because that team is close to being able to win that division right now. Is Anthony Richardson, in your opinion, a day one starter in Indy?
I'm not sure. I will say, and I think we may have hit on this a little bit, that his two worst games last year, the two just what he put on film were just horrific, was week 2 at home to Kentucky and week 3 at home to South Florida. He was absolutely horrible, and those stats were just brutal to look at. But what I've always said is, like, that was the third and fourth starts of his career. What, I thought scouts and teams should be looking at is his film at Tennessee. Florida scores 33 points, got stopped on 4th and short twice deep in Tennessee territory, 38 at FSU on the road at night. 35 at home to LSU, and then the Utah game. And he didn't play very good against Vandy, but he lit it up 4 games, and they were like the 4 biggest games of the year, where if Florida has a decent defense, they win the 3 games they lost. I mean, you scored 33 in Tennessee, you should win. You scored 38 in Tallahassee, you should win. You score 35 against LSU at home, you should win. I don't know that he's ready week 1, but I don't know what his odds are for rookie of the year. But if he's getting a lot of playing time, it's possible, because he could, have Michael Vick highlight
plays.
Yeah, and let's be honest, that's kind of what gets voters' attentions rather than necessarily every little meticulous stat and whatnot. If he's got those highlight reel plays. So I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with either, or I don't know that he starts week 1. But I'm not against going with him for rookie of the year. We'll see.
All right, he's a Richardson savant.
Fine, be that way, B. I know you're a Budweiser guy. You're a Budweiser guy, and I'm going to be like 26% of their down sales. I'm not getting you a Budweiser anymore because you won't agree with me. How about that? I'm in my feelings.
I tried to hedge a little there.
Hey, I'm for that. I'm a big hedger. We play it safe. DB's more of a risk taker. Actually, no, in this case, I'm probably the risk taker.
It's all good.
I go for the high odds and low tendency of winning. But maybe these odds are going to be better that BE. We had BC on yesterday, put together for us. Golden State Lakers. We'll start with that game. Golden State given 6. High for them against this Lakers team?
So look, I don't, and I was a heavy lean to the Lakers game 1 the other night, but Damon knows I just don't like his squad, and I didn't really want to root for him, and so I didn't play it.
No Budweisers for you.
Yeah, right. So it just seemed like, Golden State was coming off a game 7 on Sunday. That was a really quick turnaround. The Lakers, being the older team, had extra rest. It seemed like the Lakers spot, and that's how it worked out. I think the old zigzag theory works tonight. It worked last night, with Boston in desperation mode. Can't fall behind 0-2 going to Philly, and they get it done. And I just think Steph and Clay will make more shots tonight. And let's not forget, LeBron and AD played heavy minutes the other night. AD played 43 minutes.
44.
Yeah, 43-50. Yep. And LeBron played 40-05, and LeBron's 38. And I just don't know I just think if things happen good for Golden State early, that it kind of might be that throwaway game a little bit. I mean, it might not happen. I mean, if Anthony Davis dominates like he did defensively, it's going to be a long series for Golden State. But I just sense that Golden State at home in quasi-desperation mode, not being, 48 hours removed from a game 7 on the road, I just think things good will happen for Golden State tonight, so I'm going that way.
Yeah, I like the stats and kind of the philosophy. Being a Lakers fan, I just would fade the Lakers. They're not. They haven't shown me to be a team that enjoys prosperity, and they don't have any killer in them. So I could see them being content with a split and actually getting drubbed tonight. It would not surprise me if Golden State won by double digits. I think it's more of a fade of the Lakers than it is being in on Golden State's desperation.
I don't disagree. Excuse me. I don't disagree with that. And Memphis beat them by 16? I think it was 128-112 without Ja in game 2 after the Lakers put it on them in game 1. So hopefully it'll be a repeat of that.
Yeah, I would. Curry's got to put up 40 points for that to happen?
Maybe. I think so. The guys got to get to play better. You need something from Poole at home while you're at home. And I think Klay Thompson's got to be a little bit more efficient.
I just don't know if they have a response for AD. B, you also like the Heat given 3 against the Knicks. Is that game Friday?
Saturday. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of weird. Philly, Boston played last night, and they play again Friday, but the Knicks and Miami get these extra days, which works perfect for us because I like Miami, and I'm hoping and thinking Jimmy Butler is going to be ready I mean, wouldn't you guys think? I mean, they ran
Yeah, all that extra time. Yeah,
you would think so. And look, I mean, if he's not, it doesn't mean we're out of this. I mean, I still think the Heat -3 at home. I mean, I thought they should have won the other night. I mean, they had a comfortable lead midway through the fourth. They got hosed on that 24-second violation, which, you know, that was going to be an uncontested layup to cut it 1. Instead, 5-6 seconds later, Brunson's making a bucket to go up 5, and boom, that's just a huge 4-point swing at crunch time. So, yeah, I mean, I don't got a lot of cute stats. I just think Miami, with the way Butler's playing, you know, assuming he can be like 90-ish% or hopefully better on the ankle. I mean, he's playing like the best player in the NBA before that ankle late in game 1. And for these playoffs, and I'm including everybody, LeBron, Steph, Embiid, he's playing like the best player in the NBA in the first, 6 games of these playoffs, because an 8 seed got rid of Milwaukee in 5 games.
So
like
I know it's always interesting when people talk value, because there's no real value if you're losing. So sometimes that can be overstated. But death taxes, Chris Paul being hurt, is there any value left in looking at the Suns and the series price?
Man, I just don't think so, man. I think this is Denver. I think it's I wrote it in an article though. I think you can get Phoenix at like plus 380 or something, but I don't want anything to do with it. I don't know. I don't know what happens in game 3. It's a pass for me, but I mean, all they got is 2 players, man.
How do you really feel?
They got 2 players. I mean, because Ayton is getting jokerized right now, and so I'm just going to say they have 2 players, and I don't know what happens in game 3. If they're going to get one, that's going to be it for sure. But
his manner, Ayton's body language, his
terrible.
He appears to be like indifferent about the results. Like that'd be a hard guy for me to rally with.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, why does this always happen to him in the playoffs? I mean, that's the guy you don't want to go to battle with if he gets in his feelings this time.
Wouldn't want to do that in March Madness either.
Feelings. You like a couple of team totals, and if you knock this out of the park again, like you did the last time, you hammered the Celtics in multiple areas. You may have the most popular segment in America again.
Well, last night I went the same route. Last night, and they had 50 with 4:41 left in the first half. The number was 57.5, and they only got 57. So I lost it in the first half, but they went way over for the game. So they're still on a roll. They didn't get it for the first half last night. So these are the lowest numbers we've seen. So for the first half, Boston's team total is only 55.5 tomorrow night. For the game, it's 107.5. So they've scored 112 or more in 10 games in a row. They've scored 121 and 115 in the first 2 games of this series, the 121 being with Embiid, the rim protector, in there. I won't bore you with the 8 other scoring outputs, other than to say the lowest one besides the 112 was 117, which is 9.5 points over this team total. So Boston team total over, and then let's also do the same thing in the first half, over 55.5. Their first half scoring outputs in the playoffs so far have been 74, 61, 67, 65, 66, 68, 66, and then 57 last night, which was the only under, but that would have been over tomorrow night, total of 55.5. And
Brian,
Gilbert Burns minus
go
125.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just love Burns, man. He's on a roll. The only person that's beaten him lately is Chimaev, and Chimaev's had 1 strike landed on him in the 5 other UFC fights he's had. And
can't even believe that Usman floated out him wanting to see Chimaev.
But I love it. I love it by Usman.
He a spectacular fight, but man, Kamar's he's my guy. Careful.
Yeah, you know what he said. He wants. He's like, the only thing will get me a 4th shot at Edwards will be in a 1 fight fashion will be beating Chimaev.
Yep. He knows what he's doing.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, guys. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, me.
See you later. Michael Bruntz up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. We're live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. We are always excited to talk to Michael Bruntz, as we do every Thursday. He's on the phone with us now. Bruntsy, good morning.
What's going on?
Hey, how does it feel to be 4 games back of the Cardinals?
Pretty good. Pretty good. That's funny.
I predicted 7 by the next time we talk to you. I'm 1 shy, but I'm close.
It's I haven't been keeping tabs on the Royals, but they were only a game back of Kansas City late last week, and Kansas City and Oakland play a 3-gamer this weekend in Kansas City, and I thought about going down for it, but I was like, I can't take my kids to this.
How much do you think tickets would be?
Oh, I was looking. They weren't expensive.
Dude, use Jake Eisenberg's promo code. He tweeted that out the other day. I follow him on Twitter. Yes. The voice of the Royals tweeted out the promo code for tickets. As God is my witness.
How much was the discount?
I think it was it 10%?
Jeez.
What was the code? Please.
It was just his name. It was just him.
Wow.
And 10% off $4 is a lot.
But not to be outdone, did you see the Storm Chaser? So did you? And we're going to try to grab Marty for tomorrow. They drew like 2,200.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other day.
Mm-hmm. which was only 200 shy of the A's.
On the same day.
Yeah, but why? Why do you go? Why do you go to Oakland? The owners they're actively protesting during games in the stadium. You guys saw what Major League Baseball did, right?
We had to shut them down.
Uh-huh.
Well, they had the banners, the sell the team banners out in the right field. An A's player hits a home run over the banners, and MLB, whenever they shared the highlights the next day, they took the banners out of the highlights.
Yeah, they dubbed it out. Well,
that's some Chinese government stuff.
Is there a blimp in the air?
Well, go Estuary Ruiz. That's who we're cheering for. A lot of success.
That's it.
Lot of success. Hey, by the way, I feel like wash, rinse, repeat. Us talking about this baseball team and situational hitting, and I was given all these examples because, I'm a big press conference guy, and I like when people interview Will Bolt. And for a month, he's been talking about competitive at-bats.
Yep.
It reared its ugly head again last night because it's so much more than just putting a ball in play, right? Sometimes it's not letting a pitcher off the hook, hitting a ball hard in favorable counts. There's a lot, right? How does a team that's hit 76 home runs not have more competitive at-bats?
It's I have a theory. I think.
Oh, I'm here for it.
So last night's a great example of this.
Okay.
And you go out and you give up a 5 spot in the first inning, and I need to dig into this a little bit more, but it feels like anecdotally that when this team takes the first punch, that's when you start seeing the bad at bats, and you start seeing. Few guys not taking walks, guys not putting the ball in play. I mean, I think the situational hitting and just, knowing when to put a ball on the right side of the infield when you need to and things like that's kind of been there. But Will Boltz even said this, that, they're a team that they can really, when they give the first punch, they play from ahead. They're really good at that, and they can really pour it on. It just feels like when they're not playing from ahead, it just kind of turns into really tough slugging at the plate. Guys, have bad approaches, and I think that's part of it. I mean, there's other stuff going on there too, but I mean, a great example of just how you hit well situationally. I mean, North Dakota State last night, they hit a 3-run homer, and you're thinking, okay, let's try to keep this at 3. And then they get another guy on base, and then they drive in a pair of runs to make it 5-0 via sac fly. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that this team needs to do a little bit more consistently. I think is how do you get take an inning where you're going to score 1 run and put 3 up and not have to rely on a home run to do it. I mean, that's kind of I think where they're at,
which coincidentally was the difference in the game.
Yeah, it was, and it's cropped up a lot more in midweek games too, and that's why I kind of wondered if the just playing from behind early because they've had such struggles with starting pitching, if that's kind of hurt them in the midweeks, and it seems like guys are kind of almost sleepwalking a little bit until they kind of fall behind, and then it's like, okay, we gotta get going here, right? It's perplexing, I guess, would be the way to put it.
Well, and I was saying to DB earlier on that it's so underappreciated putting up zeros in early innings. It's so underappreciated. And especially with this team, DB made a great point at the end of one of our earlier segments. We stopped talking about the bullpen. Like the bullpen isn't giving up runs. It's the starting pitching.
Yeah. I mean, they retired the last 18 batters they faced last night.
Kept them in it.
It's not, so I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just finding the right person to kind of get things started, but they've tried a lot of guys, and it just is not, they haven't found anything with consistency there.
Yeah, huge series this weekend against Maryland. People may not believe it when I say it, but Nebraska statistically is comparable, if not better, in certain categories than Maryland. On the road, though, Huskers 2-4. Does that trend continue, Bruntz, or will Nebraska do what they do best against conference opponents on weekend series and steal this one?
I don't know. I mean, Maryland right now is just bludgeoning people at the plate. I think was Indiana last weekend. They went on the road and it wasn't even close.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, if you're Nebraska, you go there looking to win that series. I think realistically, it's probably 1 or 2 wins is what you're leaving with. I think Maryland for a long time, and not just this year, has had great individual talent. They just haven't really, put it together. It's always been a kind of a head-scratching team, and it seems like, the last few weeks they've really found something there. So, they're going to need Emmett Olson to be really good on Friday night to get things out on a good start. Jace Kaminska's start against Minnesota was promising, but those guys are going to have to keep Maryland at bay because they're one of the few teams in the league, I think, that can really slug with Nebraska. And I'm expecting some high-scoring games, but I've been wrong before.
Michael, would you do anything different with – and I know, granted, I just said this morning early, like the bullpen has been pretty good, but if we gave you kind of the keys and some autonomy, would you do anything different with the utilization of Brockett, Sears, Christo, Perry? Has somebody in that, and I get it. I mean, Drew's obviously had some great numbers his last couple outings, so hopefully it's not recency bias. But would you do anything different with the utilization of that crop
for midweek?
Yeah,
I mean the one guy I think that hasn't had a chance to start it out of the gates is Sears. I think he has the track record of. Having been he was a Friday night starter at Western Illinois, started in JUCO too. I think, maybe you look at him, it just seems like for whatever reason, guys are a little bit more comfortable coming into the games, as a relief option. I mean, Drew Christo even has, they've tried to start him and in the past, and he just doesn't get off to a good start. I don't know why, but I think you probably, you mix and match and that, like I said, I mean, they've tried a number of different guys midweek and, just getting the bucket handed off that first time. It just seems like it's been such a struggle. And that's why you've seen, Christo comes in and has that great relief appearance against Omaha. You saw Will Walsh do it against Creighton the first time they played. I mean,
Sears didn't give up a walk last night, I don't think, right? He struck out.
Yeah, I mean, he could have kept going too. So I don't know. I mean, you give him a shot and see how it goes. You've got the one against Creighton coming up and the completion of that game too. So I mean, maybe it's his turn in the lineup, I guess.
Bruntz, after the game, Bolt said it was just very individualistic, not much of a team takedown. And I know he doesn't want individualistic play, but sometimes individualistic results can be nice. 3 Huskers right now are projected as top prospects in the upcoming draft. You have Bryce Matthews at 52. You have Max Anderson at 58 and Emmett Olson at 140. For one, how nice is it to see players like that being produced at Nebraska? But in the same light, how much better should this team be when you have guys that are projected to go as early as Matthews and Anderson are?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, when you have, 2 hitters among the top 100 prospects, that you would hope the results would be a little bit different. I mean, and I don't know, what those 2 guys could do much differently than what they've done this season. I mean, maybe Matthews' defense, but those guys have given everything you kind of need. And it's you dig into the numbers, and Nebraska's top 50 in offense, defense, and pitching nationally, and it's just inability to get key hits. It's just kind of a head scratching group. I mean, I think that's been the the hardest thing this season is it's been, at times the pitching, they seem like they've kind of got that figured out. The hitting has some days where you're just kind of like, who is this team that showed up? But I mean, I think when you look at each of those guys, I mean, Emmett Olson's a great case of that Nebraska can kind of point to for development and kind of what he's become. I mean, he was a guy that, I want to say Nebraska was pretty much his only scholarship offer out of high school. And, they brought him along and turned him into a pretty good, left-handed starting pitching option. And so, they've had the talent. I mean, they've had other guys selected high. And, I think, the thing that's a little bit frustrating for fans probably is you see that kind of talent and you kind of wonder, why haven't the results been there this year?
Bruntz, let me change gears. Nebraska could potentially have a scholarship in its pocket for hoops. I said kind of bag it and tag it. It's just weird, right? It's so Nebraska-like. Got off to a good start in the offseason. Then we hung our head a little bit over some guys they didn't get. Now we're like, whoa, wait, what option were these guys? Didn't see Euless coming. That's experience. Like, now all of a sudden you're kind of encouraged again. Would you hold it? Is there another move you want to make? Are you quietly surprised? Are you allowing yourself to be happy with Nebraska's basketball offseason?
Yeah, I think they've done a good job of, I think last year they kind of found the recipe that you have to have in the portal. I mean, you need to find guys that can play, obviously. I mean, hey, that's a big surprise, right? But I think you kind of need the chemistry makeup. And it's always kind of hard to know how that's going to look. But when you bring in veteran guys that have played, high-level basketball, and Euless is a good example of this, where his numbers weren't fantastic at Iowa, but he played a lot of minutes there. You kind of need that guy that's kind of been through it, I think, at the point guard spot. So that was a sneaky good addition, I think, the more that I kind of looked into it. You've added some size. I think the masked kid that they added is going to be a really nice piece.
Kind of allows him to play like the original Hoiberg, right, where the four can stretch you.
That's your Hoiberg stretch four. He's not going to be, I don't think, like a Derek Walker where you're running your offense through him, but I think he gives you a little bit more in the post. I think he probably gives you a little bit more as an outside shooter. And yeah, I mean, I think right now you kind of play best available, I guess, in the portal. I mean, if somebody pops in there, or you find somebody that maybe you overlook that makes sense, I think that's maybe the direction you go. I mean, you'd love to have a little bit more post depth, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe another wing, but I think they've done a pretty good job of kind of piecing this thing together, and I'm certainly more intrigued about the direction of things next season than I was maybe three weeks ago. Casey's decision obviously looms pretty large, but I think Fred has done a good job the last couple portal cycles of finding guys that fit a little bit better than what they were doing before.
Okay, given the pieces that they have now, right, that they've added to the portal, would you take Blaise Keita's development or Keisei Tominaga coming back as something that would help this team more as the current roster sits?
As somebody that likes watching Keisei just launch half-court shots, selfishly.
Yeah, Japanese Steph Curry.
Yeah, sign me up for that. But no, I mean, Keita coming along and developing would be huge. And the thing for him is just health. I mean, he needs to stay healthy. And, I think if he's able to give you, more minutes next season, that really frees you up rotationally to mix and match a little bit more. But
it's hard not to take the sure thing in Tominaga's scoring, but man, I'm not sure I would die on that hill.
Well, here's the other thing. I just like watching him move without the ball too. Like he's entertaining to me. Like that's what I want.
Fair enough. Hey, I like the way he moves. No, but you're right though. Like I know I'm giggling, but his real emergence started with him moving without the ball, understanding offensive IQ.
And also a quick release.
And look how he gets to the open spots now. Like, his game has evolved quite a bit from his offensive understanding of where to get to on the floor.
Yeah, well, and he's shooting more open shots. I mean, some of the shots that he took his first year, you're kind of like, okay, this isn't going to work. Like, we're not going anywhere with this. But yeah, I mean, the experience, I think he helped a ton. I think the international stuff last summer, it seemed like he came back like just with a little bit more confidence. He looked like a different player in the way he carried himself. And I think too, you know, in going back to your original question about, you know, Keita or Casey, I just think you have to defend Nebraska a lot differently when he's out there.
Yeah,
I mean, you're picking him up at half court probably just to make sure he doesn't launch something, but you know, he creates a lot of space for other guys too. So I'd go that direction. I think aside from just the selfishness of watching him shoot.
Man, imagine though if Blaze could give you 6-8 points a game. That's it.
Well, yeah. I mean that would be huge. I mean, I just
don't see it.
that would be a very, very, very nice job of development by Nebraska staff if that happened. I'll put it that way.
We're talking to Michael Bruntz, senior writer for Husker 24/7 at Michael Bruntz on Twitter, covers Nebraska football, baseball, and recruiting. I want to fit one more in here, Bruntz, before we let you go. And it's a football question. And I thought about this just the other day. How does Nebraska balance the need to win games in the short term with the need to build a sustainable long-term winning program? Because we know the latter is what Matt Rule strives for, but we also know the beginning is what fans want.
Recruiting too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. It's a tough question because I feel like the staff is going to, they're going to let young guys get in there and play, and I think they're going to let some of those guys make mistakes. And I think that's okay. I think you can still win now, you know, if you're putting your talented young guys in there, because you're going to get not just the long-term benefit of that, but they're going to make plays now too. I mean, I think that they have a roster right now where they can get to a bowl game with this roster. They can show progress on the field, but I think they're also going to, you know, say, look, like we're comfortable putting Cam Linhart out there for a lot of snaps and letting him play and do what he's going to do. Same with Princewell. I think both of those guys are going to have big roles on defense. So I mean, that's where you kind of start building the long-term stuff, and with also getting a little bit of the benefit of that now. I mean, in the transfer portal era, I mean, I think you have to play guys early. I just think you do, and I think this staff is comfortable with that. So it's a balance for sure. I mean, I don't think they're going to put somebody out there that they don't feel can help them, but I think you need to see some of those young guys after this season going into their sophomore years is like, okay, these are the types of guys that we're going to build around, so that, you know, you're making that jump, not just, you know, winning short-term in year one, but having something you can build in year 2, 3, and beyond.
Bruntz, I got to sneak in one more.
Do it.
What was the sentiment? Andrew and I got into a little bit of a back and forth over the A.J. Allen departure. What was your board sentiment? Talented room, sucked anyway, hate to see him go. Like, what was the general prevailing sentiment?
I thought, whoa.
That probably wasn't it.
Yeah. It was a mixed bag. I mean,
okay.
I think how you felt about his departure probably depends on how you felt about Gabe Ervin and Anthony Grant, right? Because if you feel okay about those two guys, and you know, maybe Grant's going to be able to get a little bit more north and south more quickly this year, you feel okay about that. I mean, I think A.J. Allen, I mean, it's a small sample size. You got just a little taste last year over like 30 some odd carries or something like that. You could see though where, you know, the guy had big play potential, where he could potentially help you out of the backfield as a receiver. So yeah, I mean, I think if there was a little less proven depth at that spot, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But I mean, I kind of go back to the question I feel like I've been asked about 100 times this offseason is like, who's Nebraska's playmaker? Who are they going to get the ball to when they need a play? I mean, A.J. Allen was kind of always in that list in my head that I had. And, you know, you don't have him on the roster, so you have one less option now to kind of be that game breaker, big play guy. So, you know, I think that was one of the few rooms on the roster, though, where, you know, if you did have somebody leave, you still felt okay about, you know, what remained. And, oh, by the way, Ramir Johnson's still there. I mean, I feel like that's kind of always been the, well, you got Ramir Johnson. So, but I mean, that's a good option. I mean, that's a guy that can salt the game away in the Big Ten. He can play different places. But, yeah, it was kind of a mixed bag, which I guess kind of surprised me. I was expecting a little bit more pearl clutching about the whole thing.
Bruntz, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
It's Michael Bruntz, senior writer for Husker 24/7 at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. When he said, what were you going to say there? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask, when he said proven backfield there, did you think that there's enough proven guys in the backfield?
No.
I didn't think so either. And kind of too little time to go into it with Bruntz because I wanted to get more clarity on what he meant. But I assumed he put Gabe Ervin in that mix, and Gabe Ervin didn't play.
I think more Grant and Ramir.
Oh, right, and that's good.
Because two years ago,
two bodies I wouldn't say is enough.
I think Ramir went for 755, and then last year I think Grant showed you
right. Two bodies, though, for me, isn't enough for me to say proven depth.
It would be anybody, in my opinion, but Gabe Ervin. He's anything but proven. I would start with
Ramir is a great
Ramir and
into that combo.
And probably Grant.
So I guess, yeah, if you two guys maybe are enough for proven depth for that. That being said, so getting clarity, that helped me a little bit.
Full disclosure, do you know I had to Google the term pearl clutching? I had no idea what it meant. And I've heard it the last 3 years. I had to Google.
Hey, sometimes you just have to. It's cool.
I didn't understand the terminology, but it makes sense.
We'll be back.
Did Severe tell you to do that?
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
You get 2 lightsabers? Oh, technically 1, but I can split them.
You never gave me 2 lightsabers.
Hey, we're back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Shane, do you got the breaking news sound effect for me over there? Oh, is that it?
Isn't that very fitting for today?
It may be. I'll write it. Hey, the sports six-pack question: where will Hunter I almost said Dickerson because that's what Shane said. Yeah, where will Eric Dickerson go to school?
You asked me that question last year, Eric.
Where will Hunter Dickinson go to school? He has chosen KU.
Rock chalk.
So essentially what he's telling us is he wants to go win a title.
Tipton gets all the scoop, man. Tipton gets all the tips.
Kansas plus 1,200 to win the national championship next year. Duke at plus 1,100. So KU has the second best odds.
Rock chalk.
And I wonder if that's changed since
what they need to do is talk Grady Dick into coming back to school.
Yes. Then they could have Dick and Dickinson.
Not exactly what I was thinking, but just a guy, instead of taking a crapshoot role at the draft, come back and get another year of college.
What's he projected? Like 6, 8? Like to go 6 or 8?
I haven't seen him in the top 10.
Really?
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong drafts.
Here we go. We type into Google right now, NBA mock draft. I don't even know what a good, credible site is.
But
I'll do NBC Sports here.
You can go to the NBA draft room. It's pretty good.
You know what?
Victor Alman
Grady Dick, 7 to the Pacers in this draft.
God, that seems high. He's not in this one. I see him 12th to the Magic or 11th to the Magic and 1 and 12th to the Thunder.
Yeah, he's not in.
I mean, lottery pick, man, you got to go.
He's not in this one.
This didn't seem like a lottery pick.
Good player, really good player. Could develop a little bit more.
It seemed to hit the wall.
What do you mean by that? Just
took a month off of scoring.
Oh, okay.
Right? I mean, I don't know.
That team, though, was built on one player. Even though Grady Dick was there,
he was
built
sensational.
on one player.
Mr. Wilson.
He was unreal.
God, he hit tough shots.
Single-handedly defeated a lot of teams.
He hit some tough.
What do you average?
Oh, he's
26.
20, yeah. Somewhere. That may be a little high. He's around. That's a lot for college. That was 20 some.
Jalen Wilson averaged 20. Just 20.
Yeah. I almost said 20.
43% from the field.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And he grabbed 8 boards. But according to you, with guys like that and
where we go with Jokic,
it's easy to do.
I said Jokic is more consistent than Embiid.
It's easy to
Last
do.
night, would you say Jokic is more consistent than Embiid?
Well, Embiid's hurt.
Oh, now Embiid's hurt
and
again.
he's playing against a significantly better team in the interior. Embiid would do that to Embiid would do that to
Ayton.
Embiid would do that to Ayton. Shoot, Embiid did it to Jokic. He made Jokic look just like that.
Oh, man.
I'm not mad at the Joker, though. I like the Joker. People hate on the Joker. I don't. He's got game.
Both players have game. That's why they were up for MVP. Giannis was up for MVP, and everyone continues to sleep on that guy.
So mad Giannis didn't win. So mad. He's like, that's like Nick Saban. He just coach of the year just because he's good.
You're mad.
Kinda. I mean, damn it does.
Hey, you know what? It's frustrating, Micah. Just like the Cardinals right now. It's frustrating. I told you today's a Cardinal day. Everything goes back to being frustrating.
I'm the one of the good moments of sunshine in my life. The Dodgers won again. They had to walk it off.
Grand Slam, though.
Yeah, that's Muncie.
And it was Muncie Mania.
Muncie doing Muncie things. I kind of like it.
You know what I also kind of like is
the Braves playing softball against the Marlins.
Get up, baby.
And, well, rest in peace.
Get up, baby. Still one of the greatest.
I kind of like that, these trials and tribulations for the Cardinals are taking place right now because I think it's showing a lot about this team. And even though it has a lot of star power, there's some
Cardinals?
There's some things that are wrong. Oh, yeah.
Star power?
Oh, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt. It's got star power.
Oh, that's about it, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 2 out of 9 players is a good amount of star power. I would actually say that's a lot of star power. A lot of teams don't have, well, the best teams do.
Yeah, a lot of good teams have 2 good players.
Right. So, pretty average star power then. We'll dial that back down. But we're talking about 2 guys that were going for MVP last year. So I would say it's a lot.
Get up, baby.
Get up, baby. Get up, baby.
But no one's feeling sorry for him.
It's a well-run, storied franchise.
And that's why.
So, I mean, you're due. Like, this franchise doesn't lay eggs. Like,
they did in 20.
Yeah, you're picking a random
17, right? 18 when they missed the playoffs.
So, and you had to fire your guys. But listen, I'm kind of jealous of the Cardinals organization. I have been for a long, long time. It's a well-run,
good farm system,
quality, good organization.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's baseball. It's hard. It's hard. So I wouldn't be too in your feels. Now, this is a very, very disappointing start.
We'll also look at the teams that won the World Series.
I still can't believe you said they'd have to go 500 in May, and I was like, how are they going to go 500 in May? Like, there's only 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to play 27 games.
I'll tell you what, they aren't on pace. They aren't on pace to have a winning record by June.
You said 10 games, right? 10 games about.
I said they need to be 500 come June.
Yeah, that means that they
that
means that they had to win 10 more games than they lost in the month. I'm like, do you know how hard that is to do?
Well, it seems like the Pirates had no trouble doing that.
Yeah, but if you do that for 5 months in baseball, if you win 10 more games than you lose, every month you're plus 10, you're 50 wins over losses. Like you're penciling yourself in for what, 102 and 60? That's absurd.
Well, with how far behind this team is right now,
that would have been absurd though.
To be competitive the rest of the way, You have to do something.
Are you more miffed to see 23-6 or 6-23?
23-6.
God, that's weird, isn't it? They hammered the Pirates, and quietly, McClanahan, he's 6-0.
Mm-hmm.
I think his ERA is like in the 2s.
Yeah, I don't know if that is like super quiet. People had high expectation for him coming into this year.
I mean, he's met unlike Urias, unlike a lot of these other guys, they haven't met the answer.
And also,
the dinner
when
bill
we
for,
see
for
the
Cy
Dodgers
Young
putting up 13 runs, they're not the only team that puts up 13 runs. So to see somebody with an ERA as low as McClanahan,
especially in that division. But did you not see? I can't even believe I didn't talk to you about this. I watched it 15 times.
Wander Franco's flip.
He flipped the ball
to himself.
Real time on a Major League Baseball ground ball.
Mm-hmm.
Wander Franco.
He pumped into his glove afterward and threw it.
I was like, wow, the Stones.
Well, that for sure is the thing, because if he didn't get the out, that would have been talked about all day today. But because he got the out, people aren't mad about the move, right? They like the flashiness of Wander Franco's game. They like this new version of Major League Baseball with how like the speed of the game, and now you add in like a little bit of personality with Wander doing something like that. But an old head out there, if he didn't get the out, for a fact they would have hung Wander Franco at the stake for that.
Hey, my mathematician Jamie, he wanted me to tell you, even Sandlot had 2 good players.
It's a lot of flock going on.
Now they had Benny the Jet. Everybody else was a player. They had Benny the Jet.
We had 2 good players.
Good players. We're talking about star players. Benny the Jet is a star player.
So Arenado is too. Goldschmidt's a good player.
Goldschmidt won the MVP.
God, I hate your recency bias sometimes. Over the span of his career, Goldschmidt is closer to a good player than a great player.
Let's look at Paul Goldschmidt's accolades.
Yeah,
real fast.
let's go ahead and pull. I'm here for it.
I think the catcher was a good player.
Yeah, he was. He was
Ham,
nice.
Porter.
No, in Sandlot.
Goldschmidt, 7-time All-Star, won the MVP last year, 4-time Gold Glove winner, 5-time Silver Slugger, 2-time
really
Hank
good,
Aaron
not
Award,
great.
NL home run leader and 13 and RBI leader.
Yeah,
star player. He's at 296 batting average.
That's not great. That's really good.
He's averaging he's nearly 300 in his career.
Is Goldschmidt a great player?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll be back with Aaron.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, as we wind this thing down on a Thursday, we appreciate you joining us wherever you've been catching us, whether it's ESPN 590. We're live on Twitter, live on YouTube, KFOR in Lincoln currently for the 9 o'clock hour. We appreciate you joining us all the way through, and help us close it down as we bring in our closer for the day, Aaron Fitt, co-editor and national writer for D1 Baseball. Aaron, good morning.
Closer, guys, that's a lot of pressure. I don't know if I'm ready.
Maybe if you're a St. Louis Cardinals closer, it is.
Fitty, you got the perfect temperament, man. You just do as you do, not a just. You don't stress. You're locked in, man.
Staying in the moment, my friend.
Hey, how interesting is it when you're looking at the tops in the ACC, and you know I got to weave in North Carolina at some point, that it's not all about Carolina, man. I mean, did you kind of see some of this emergence coming with what's going on in the ACC?
No, not really. I mean, Wake Forest we saw coming. Wake Forest, we were pretty convinced at the end of the year was the best team in the league, and that has certainly proven to be the case. But Boston College, no. I mean, that one was kind of out of left field. They were just really, really bad last year when it comes to pitching and playing defense, two things that are typically pretty important in baseball. They were just awful.
And they're going to host.
Yeah, I mean, right now they are. I mean, we'll see. They're still not out of the woods. And
that's true.
They go to Wake Forest this weekend. They really can't get swept. They got to win a game down at Wake, I think, and then win their last series. And then I think they got a real chance. But I mean, yeah, that's one of the great surprise stories of the year. Duke also, I mean, to a lesser degree, is a surprise story because, you know, especially they lost their projected ace. I mean, it's funny. Like if you were to talk to Chris Pollard, their coach, back in September, he would have said, yeah, the strength of our team is we got these two left-handers that are going to be 1-2 in our rotation, and they can stand up against anybody. And then Luke Fox went down in fall ball, and then they lost Jonathan Santucci, about a month ago. They didn't have either one of those guys, and they've just kind of mixed and mashed in the mound. They've got these like graduate transfers from Division II that have they plugged in as openers, that just nondescript guys that get them 3 or 4 innings every week, and they've made it work. I mean, that to me is wild also, just the way that they've been able to win. And they're right now in position to get a top 8 national seed.
Over in the SEC, Aaron, Tennessee has won their last 8, a sweep over Vandy in that mix. Now, this team wasn't predicted to win 50 games again, but they were predicted to be better than what they currently are. The late season surge, real or not?
Yeah, it's real. I mean, we've been kind of scratching our heads waiting for it all year long, wondering why the team isn't better than they are. Because, I mean, the pitching talent is the same, you know. I mean, yeah, they lost some guys in the lineup, but they weren't performing on the mound up to their talent and up to their track records. And it was just kind of baffling, you know. And they're sitting there 5-10 in the league a few weeks ago, and you're like, oh my gosh, is Tennessee really in danger? Danger of missing the postseason? And then they kind of found it, you know. And of course, it took just a weekend with Vanderbilt, old friend Vanderbilt. They kind of got their juices flowing. It seemed like they swept Vandy, and now they're kind of off and running here. So, you know, they've got Georgia on the road this weekend. They have not won a road series this year. They're only 1-9 on the road. So that's what they have to prove is, hey, can you win games outside of Knoxville? I think they can. And I think it starts this weekend, and then you get Kentucky at home, and you know, that's a chance to win 4 straight series and really actually get themselves into the regional hosting situation there.
Yeah, their home run power was on full display, and I get LSU's lineup, a couple of hammers at the front too. But aside from 3 losses for you, what separates LSU, Carolina, you got Florida, Vandy, Arkansas? I mean, those teams are anywhere from 35-8 to 33-11. They're all bang, 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 bang. In the SEC, what's ultimately do you think can be the difference?
Yeah, they're like you said, there are 5 teams there that right now I think are all on track to be top 8 national seeds, you know, in the SEC. Vanderbilt is probably, I don't know, LSU's had the best year. I mean, they haven't lost a weekend yet, and that's impressive considering they have lost guys on the mound. I mean, I just think LSU's top end talent just really stands out. You know, when you've got a Dylan Cruz in center field, who's basically Mike Trout, and you've got a Paul Skeens at top of your rotation, who's basically Steven Strasburg. Like, it's, you know, they've got 2 generational talents on one team here, you know, and then lots of, you got the Tommy White, who was, you know, freshman sensation last year at NC State, and you know, Trey Morgan's a really good player. All the other guys that they kind of fill in around those 2 superstars. The only issue is, like, do they have enough on the mound? Because again, they've lost a bunch of guys, and you know, they've had some power arms that have just kind of been up and down behind Skeens in the rotation and in the bullpen, and they've been able to win anyway. I mean, their offense is elite, obviously, but they're not the most balanced team for me. I think, you know, Vanderbilt, South Carolina maybe have a little bit more balance when you look at what they've got in the mound and in the bullpen. They just feel a little more stable. I mean, to take nothing away from LSU, I do think their star power is unmatched, but you know, if we're looking down the road here in June, and whose pitching is going to hold up the best, I have a lot more faith in Vandy and South Carolina there, and maybe Florida, if they can just get that bullpen figured out. Boy, that rotation with Brandon Sproat and Hurston Waldrop. I mean, you got 2 first-round talents right there coming at you on Friday and Saturday.
Full display last weekend too.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, I don't want to like hone in on imbalance, but because, you know, LSU still has pitching, even though we hammer their offense more times than not. But on the other side of things, like Wake Forest is huge into pitching, and like they have offense, but not as good as their pitching. So as the CWS approaches, and I can't believe we're almost a month out of, you know, College World Series action, but are you looking for the balanced team when you're choosing a winner here, or are you looking at a team that favors more into offense over pitching or pitching over offense?
Ultimately, I still want pitching and defense. You know, especially in that ballpark, and I know we're in a more offensive context now than we were 10 years ago. There's no question about that. The ball's flying out at a historic rate most places, but it's still not going to fly out of Charles Schwab. I mean, it's just not. I had to catch myself on the name of the stadium.
Well done, though, Fitty. You're sharp.
Thank you. The Chuck box is still going to play pitcher friendly. You're going to see more home runs than you used to, but I mean, like, you've got to pitch and play defense, and you don't need a ton of pitching. You don't need the deepest pitching staff, but you need 5 arms, I think, to go out there and 5 guys you can really count on, lockdown guys. And Wake Forest, to me, they're actually the most complete team in the country, and it's weird to say that about Wake Forest, but I mean, you know, you've got, again, a first-round pick, the reigning ACC Pitcher of the Year in Rhett Lauder, who's going to win that again. He's going to be back-to-back ACC Pitcher of the Year. It's a pretty incredible career he's having. And then you've got Josh Hartle and Sean Sullivan behind him, two really, really good lefties who've come into their own after they lost Teddy McGraw, who was another first-round kind of a talent. They lost him to injury. He hadn't thrown a pitch this year. They missed a beat in the rotation. I mean, I think that's the best rotation in the country, and it's not close. And then with Camden Manassi in the bullpen, you got an All-American closer at the back and plenty of depth around it. So I love their pitching staff, and you still got star power in the lineup. You know, you've got Nick Kurtz, you've got Brock Wilkin, two All-American caliber players at the corners, you know, who have power and hit for average, and lots of quality veteran guys that they fill in all around the lineup. It's a team that doesn't really have any flaws, and they play much better defense than they used to. That used to be the area where you could kind of pick at them. They've kind of cleaned that up. So it's just a fantastic team having a great year. The only issue is that's a program that hasn't been there before. You know, I mean, they haven't been to Omaha in 60 years. And it's just like, there's a lot of pressure on them. It's kind of like with this group of players, they know their window is now. They must feel like, man, we got to get there this year. And if you're hosting a regional, you're hosting a super, that can start to weigh on you a little bit. We've seen it. We saw it with Tennessee last year and Arkansas the year before. They seem to have these incredible seasons and didn't get to Omaha. So just because you're the best team doesn't mean you're going to get there. Forget about winning it all. It doesn't mean you're going to get to Omaha.
Hey, so Fitty, listen, we know about South Carolina's prowess. There's another team in South Carolina that's making some noise. And a lot of times when we're talking about the Carolinas and we're looking for somebody that can upset the apple cart, it's East Carolina. How about going to Spartanburg, though, and looking at Wofford, right? We know about Malstead. Galaney can rake. They're 32-12. Are they a spoiler for you?
Yeah, I really am an admirer of their program. I love the way that they've kind of built their whole system. You know, it's a very aggressive running game. It has been every year for 15 years. They're always in the top 2 or 3 of the nation. Usually they lead the nation in stolen bases. And that's kind of the case again. They got 7 guys with double-digit steals.
And they hit 325 as a team.
Yeah. Yeah, and most of those guys aren't burners. Actually, they're just intelligent, aggressive base runners, and they're not afraid to get thrown out. But they generally steal at a pretty high clip. And as you said, they put the ball in play. Besides Galaney, there's not a ton of power, but that guy's a real threat. And they just, you know, they know their system, and they throw strikes. You know, that's kind of their MO on the mound. There's no overpowering stuff there. I mean, I love Matthew Marshall. He's a competitor, but he's just a strike thrower, a bulldog, you know, average stuff kind of guy. And you got a bunch of guys like that, Colson Buchanan, and, you know, he'll miss some bats, but I mean, they're just, you know, there's no sex appeal on the mound, if you will, but they just get it done. And yeah, for them, the big thing is just to get over that hump and get into a regional. Last year they had a at-large kind of resume. Our guy was in the 30s. They won the regular season. They still couldn't get a bid.
A lot of consternation over them, remember?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, you know, hey, it was a really small bubble last year. There's some teams that got their hearts broken. UTSA was another one that probably deserved to get in and did not. NC State, obviously. All those teams were worthy. We just had a really tight bubble last year. But hopefully Wofford can get over the hump this year. Maybe they just have to win the automatic bid. But they're dangerous, man. And it's a program that's been doing it for a while now. They've been rolling.
Aaron, just real fast here. We only have about 30 seconds. I'll just look for one team because Nebraska's going to play Maryland this weekend. Is Maryland your pick to win the Big Ten, or is it somebody else?
Yeah, it's Maryland. I thought they kind of showed it this past weekend, going to Indiana and sweeping that series. They're the preseason favorites. They're the most talented team. They're experienced, and I think they're the team to beat.
And they rake.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Yes, they do. Aaron Fitt, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, you got it.
Thanks, Fitty.
He's the co-editor and national writer for D1 Baseball. You'll see him when he comes to the CWS. It's at Aaron Fitt on Twitter.
First person I ever knew to wear flat fronts.
Aaron Fitt?
Yes, sir.
Did they fit?
Oh, yeah. He's sharp. Polo and khakis, baby.
We'll be back tomorrow.